Hi everyone, welcome back. We're going to paint the Indigo Bunting today. I kind of showed it to you on the last one, which was right over there. And, no it isn't. What was the last one? The last one was the chickadee. Must be over there. Anyway, I do so many birds all the time. Anyway, we're going to do the Indigo Bunting. I have some photos down here. This is the one. These are all free photos that get off of the internet, and this one I really liked, except for I didn't like his wild hair. And the Indigo Bunting, this is a male, and when it's changing colors and stuff, it has a lot more tans in it, tan colors in it, which I think, you know, if you get a bird that's just too solid, it's not as interesting. So as an artist, you try to look for some different color variations, like this one right here. I really like. See, it gets those tan colors in there, especially when they're changing from a juvenile up to an adult, and the males, they start to, you can see the underlying tones of the tan kind of colors, and I like that. And this one I like. You can really see his primary, secondaries, and tertial feathers there, along with his coverts and then his mantle. That's called his mantle. This is another one that I had that you can see some of those. You can see really nice developed coverts there, and the primaries and secondaries and tertial flight feathers and stuff. So you see a lot of those colors. So I have some here, and I really like, though, the positioning and stuff of this one. I didn't like this wild hair off to the left side, so I changed it, sketched it out. What I did was to start to sketch him was I started at just an oval shape this way, which is most of his bodies. The buntings are short, kind of squatty little birds. And then I turned an oval this way. So you can kind of see I turned an oval this way and an oval this way, cutting across, and then I used that as my guidelines here to start sketching him out, and then of course added the tail. And we'll probably do some coloring like on a wing that's like this one here, down this side. That's what I want to do, get a little bit of that tan so he's not all completely blue. And then I promised some lilacs. These are some red violet lilacs. They also go kind of a purpley blue color, which we will do. It just gives you a nice idea. And of course, all of this down here, this is going to be lilac. So, you know, eventually we're going to get to that. Having a real fun time. These are, you know, these bird lessons and stuff like this. I love painting birds, and you know, don't ever get frustrated on them or anything like this. Like I always say with all my lessons, it's just a little bit of paint and a board. Okay, I have an 11 by 17 board. This is my favorite type of board. What I did here was, because I'm going to go with some violets, purpley violets and everything, I kept my background here. I took some white, yellow oxide, tiny bit of black, more towards the yellow side just a little bit. Now I may change this into a gray that I can make from my blues and my reds to give a better harmony right through here, leaving a little bit of the yellowy warm color here, because we'll be painting with a lot of cooler colors today, so you're going to want to have some type of warm. So that was my thought process here, was to start out kind of warm. Value scale, a lot of you are still asking about the value scale. The value scale, everything we have is over on the JansenArtStudio.com. You just click the free videos there, and you can download anything. We're in the process of uploading a bunch of photos and working on that site, along with, we have 2 main sites, well actually 3 main sites. We have more than that, but the 3 main sites, JansenArtStudio.com. That's where you'll find a lot of the videos. They're easier to search for on that platform where there is on YouTube. Then we have our online class website, which is JansenArtOnline.com. There you'll find the online classes. There you'll be able to go and in many cases download the video. If you're in a slow connection speed or something, go there and download the video. And then of course we have JansenArtStore.com. That's where you can buy all the products that I use, you know, in all of my videos everywhere. All these links are always in the description down below. In our videos, it's on there, and YouTube, it's down there. The description down below, just hit the description of the video. You'll see all the links along with our Amazon store. So those of you can order off of the Amazon too as well, okay? Make sure that you do subscribe. A great place to subscribe is over at Jansen artstudio.com, jansenartstudio.com, where you can get the value scale. You can download this value scale, this printed out, and I just covered it with clear plastic tape. So you can get this value scale, you can get a bunch of other things there. But what I do is we have a mailing list there. It's a newsletter list. We notify you if you click the Jansen Art online. We just notify you anytime any video is added, so you can go look there and add that. Some of the things I was looking at, I thought I'd share with you guys just before we get into painting here. Some of the birds we'll do, and I'm trying to decide whether I want to do the Rufous hummingbird or the ruby red hummingbird, and these are both males. I've painted both of these several times in several different things. So, and you know, if you have one favorite over another, let me know. Hit the comments down below there and let me know, and we'll battle it out as to which one we want to paint. I like both of them, and of course we'll change the flowers with both of them, but we wanted to do a hummingbird. We also wanted to do the goldfinch. I have hundreds and thousands actually of pictures of goldfinches because I had them a lot. You put out Niger seeds out in the East Coast, you get them everywhere. My favorite bird, the tufted titmouse, another one that we have out at our house out in Pennsylvania. Love that. So, and I love this positioning of him. I like anytime I can get some, this is the side light, and we can get some nice undertones, some different yellows and stuff coming up through him. He's going to be magnificent. A lot of fun to paint, and we'll put him with some roses or something like that. And then, you know, I had a request and one of them to do, and I have lots of nice requests, peacocks and all different kinds of birds and stuff. So we may go over 12 birds a little bit because you guys are asking for quite a few of them, and I don't mind. I'm having a great time, you know, painting it. And with all of this stuff that's going on in the world, there's nothing like us all painting together and doing a little bit of sharing and having some fun. And I like your guys' comments and stuff, because that means a lot to me here, because I don't have all of my students in the studio with me anymore right now, because you know everyone's staying safe, and so comments just keep me going. So make sure you know hit a comment on there. I really enjoy it. But this one, this tree swallow, isn't he beautiful? And with these big long wings and everything, we got tons of swallows out here, all different kinds. But I thought, wow, that's just a real beautiful one. It'd be nice to get that real luminosity to those colors and stuff to paint. And I've never painted a tree swallow before, so we'll be doing that one into the future. Okay, so a lot of stuff to do. Okay, back to our indigo bunting here. He's going to be so I have these, I have the lilacs and I have this stuff, and I'll put out like my indigo buntings here, a couple of pages, a couple of things for me to look at. You can go, you know, just go out on the internet and grab any of the birds you want to reference to. Now, you know, when you're going out on the internet and you just can't use photos out there, guys. And you know, I get this question all the time. No, you don't. If you use Google like I do to search images, I buy a lot of my stuff off of the Adobe site. I have a subscription and a business account with Adobe because we use their products for video editing and everything. But I get a lot of stuff in there. But if you go to Google and then you hit images, you type in the name of what you want, then under tools, that's under the images, tools, click that, and it'll say users rights. And you click that, and it says free to use. And so you can click that. Then you just check to make sure on each photo, but Google the user's rights. If they're free for you to use, to paint and stuff, they'll show just thousands of images that are free for you to use. And then you just make sure, click the image and make sure, okay? All right, so that's how you can find a lot of these really free images like this and get these beautiful colors. Like this one that's off of Wikipedia and stuff. It's a really nice one. So we'll use some of those colorings and stuff that we have out there. I'll set those here off to the side, and off we go. So my palette colors that I have out here, same as I normally have. I'm going to switch back to the phthalo blue here. And you know, you could, when you're going to paint this indigo bunting, you could have you know, the ultramarine blue out and paint with the two blues. And I've painted those indigo bunting before with the two blues. And one of the other colors that I used one time that just made an absolutely beautiful one that I didn't add it this time because we're trying to keep the colors simple and stuff, is the brown matter. Brown matter and the blues just make absolutely incredible neutrals to the colors, which you want to grab those inside the indigo bunting. So brown matter is a beautiful PR175, beautiful color. But here I have my Hansa yellow, Darty light yellow, yellow oxide, burnt sienna, naphthol red light, pine green, phthalo blue, quinacridone violet, red violet, and my white. And we're off and going. I have a little cap of extender here, which I'm going to use as I start my background setup, because you know, the lilacs are beautiful to paint. I think the lilacs are most beautiful when there's just color. So I'm going to establish just some color into my backgrounds back here. And to do that, I'm going to do what I call blur the colors together. Not blend, I'm going to blur. And to blur the colors together, I'm going to use some extender. Now, sometimes I take, if I'm going to do this for a longer period of time, you don't see me do this very often. I used to do this all the time. But this will really slow down the drying time of the paint onto the background, is I give a light coat, just with the paper towel here, a light coat of the extender over the surface here, and this will slow down the paints, the acrylics, for a little bit and give you some time to blur the colors here. So, and that, I just like how that works. Now, let's go into some violets and then we'll set some gray. So we'll take a little bit of phthalo blue. Let's use the lighter violet here right now, the quinacridone, and we'll make some soft violets. If we want these to tone down, we can add a little bit of yellow to this. But right now, what I want to do is just push in. I want you to just imagine. Now let some of the yellow show through every once in a while, because that's going to be our warm color. But we'll push some of these other colors right back here, and you can see you can soften, and we'll blur that color out just a bit back through there. And you know what? I just look like I painted right around the bird. You don't want to do that. Go through your bird a little bit. Okay. Now let's try to, let me grab this photo here. We want to try to capture not the flowers themselves, but the look of the colors, and look at the deep violets here, and you know, to the lighter tone. So we got to imagine this. Imagine a clump like this, and our light coming in this way. Imagine the light and then the shadow, and then some real deep shadows. And real deep shadows like this, I would put right around the bird, which will cause the bird to come forward. So let's shift this over to some violets here, and we'll push some of this around. Just touch and push, and you'll see your brush just kind of see, this is what gives you that oil look. Those of you that really like the oil look, the softness of it, this is what will give this to you. And let's push. So we got a little bit blue there, so let's push over more to a violet and do an area that's just a little bit more violet here, and go right off the edge of your board. Don't always paint. You know, I'm a left brain painter, and so one of my habits is to always kind of square everything up, and I don't want to do that. I'll soften this just a little softer back here. We'll let some of that other color come through here. But we want to get a little deeper, a little more violet, a little more blue, and we want to get a little deeper back down into this area. Let's get a little more violet, which will get those nice deep colors and tones right up here by our bunting here. And of course we cover up those legs because I don't like painting those legs. And we'll just model, small brush movements, model some of those colors here. Now I got rid of some of my yellow, and you can always just wipe back just a bit. Really bring out, see how that yellow brings in some nice contrast here. And we'll just soften, push that around there, and that'll be nice. A little bit of this coloring back through here. That'll work out nice. But you're trying to just set up some tones, and this will really kick, you know, all these darks right up in here. We'll go a little more violet, a little more quinacridone in here, right up, some smaller And see, this is what I want, to get these smaller strokes, and then I just want to blur it a little bit. You can use the soft bit of your brush pushing like this and just lightly go over the top of it like this to blur it. See, it blurs it without leaving too much of a stroke, and we want to just break up some areas. You don't want a solid area, you just want to break up some areas there so you get this modeling of this color. We don't want to have too many darks back there, because we, you know, good perspective, depth of field of color is, you know, as objects leave your focal point, it's going to become more like the background back here. That's the good rule of color theory. And so we'll do that. We'll leave that back there. Let's put in just a little bit more color. And of course, you know, we'll add a lot more to this later, and sometimes I'll blur right over the top of this with more stuff coming in, but we get a nice movement of the colors. Let's put just a bit of that violet down here, just moving away. See, so you get this blue and into the violet. That's when it really gets pretty. You get some of these other colors in there. And of course we can go quite dark in here. This is our focal area right around our bunting. So we really want to build up. See, just push your brush to a bit. So you don't want to, I don't want to make like brush strokes. I want to get this movement. That's what's really going to get the interest to your painting. And imagine right in here and then slowly softening out, becoming more like the background there. And just like that. See, then we'll turn some of that right into flowers and stuff here. And we might as well change just a few of them right now. I'm going to go to my 8. And you could also go to, you know, the lilacs and stuff here, 4 petals, little yellow centers, but their tips of their petals are more rounded. So you could paint this very easily with a little, as a matter of fact, I'll do it with a filbert. This is an 8 filbert, or let's see, yeah, it's an 8 filbert. Let's put a little bit of light color right in here, and let's just add 4 petals here, just light. See, I just like that. And I know I usually paint the bird and stuff first, but you know, the bird has got so much contrast in there, we're going to be able to do whatever we want with this bird. It's so I'm just going to show you here, adding a few little flowers. Now I don't want to get, I want to override these a bit, and I don't want to make just absolutely perfect flowers always. I want just some of this to start fading away. Some of this turns a little more blue here as they go out. So having a lighter blue here over some of the red violet background, just see how pretty that is? That just makes a real nice, and just let these soft and just use this to model like that just a bit, so that those little lilacs start to fade away a bit. And up here in the center, I'll develop them a little bit more and a little heavier, a bit more, but you can have some other colors and stuff like that in there. You know, work some lighter colors. Don't forget to feed extender to your colors every once in a while, you know, especially if it's hot in your area like it is right now here in Nebraska. We're up in the high 90s and it is hot. But I don't want to do too many, you know, like perfect little blossoms. We'll add a few, and you know, like right out here. So sometimes I'll just start to shape one up and just blur it right out here, so it just disappears a bit. And of course we're going to develop this even more. This is just our first look. This is kind of like I'm imagining all of the soft little movement of the flowers. We'll come back and do some more stuff in here, but we've got to paint the bird and stuff first before we go into that too much. So, but we just want a bit of that, just kind of going back, capturing the feeling of it. So I really, when I paint lilacs, and I paint them a lot, especially with roses. As a matter of fact, there's a few videos here on the channel that have the lilacs that I paint with the roses. And I really like to kind of use this type of progression here. Let's put a lighter blue Don't forget to make some of them just a lighter blue. Those get pretty as well. And some variations, and just let these just model away. And if you get too heavy, we'll back paint with some other colors and stuff like that, you know, to them, and we'll do some more detailing. Like we could take some additional darks and details and come back in here, and this is what I'll do later on. But see, even though you have some of those flowers, you just kind of plow right through them, add some more darks, because we really want the viewer's eye to come right up into this whole area right in here. And so, and you know, to paint these really beautiful lilacs is really a real blurring of color. See, a real blurring of some of these colors. So we build these colors several times here. And you know, even though I painted, you saw me paint those other little flowers like that, I'll paint right through them. And this is what makes it pretty, and gives you this nice depth. You know, a true artist is not afraid to paint anything out, because we paint what the painting needs. And sometimes you need to just paint something out. It just needs to go away for a while, and you can bring it back. But then you can see some of those colors. See, I like that nice strikes of violet in there. Now we'll come back. Let's just lighten up a bit before we go paint our bird. We'll lighten up a few. But see, after I add more darks, what I'm doing here is adding a bit more to my lilacs here. And we'll add a few more little hits here. You can push and blur some of them out like that, you know, push and blur those like little, you know, like we do with the little daisies and stuff like that, you know. And you can come back and hit a second little light on some of them. Blur some of these out. You know, just add some pretty little colorings in there. Just act like you know what you're doing. And just remember, switch off between a little bit of blue. And we'll come back and revisit these again. But it gives you a nice, you can see how the background is kind of setting up, and I don't want to lose. And see, you add that extender there, right? And that extender is going to make everything stay wet, and it also stops the it increases the reconstitution of the paint. So now, if I say, oh, you know what, I'm kind of closing up a little bit here too much, I just take a little bit of water, and this just gives nice effects to your colors, to what you're doing here. And see, it just pulls. I'm pulling some of this away and letting some of that nice warm background come back through there again, and just lifting that off, and that just gives you some nice design movement, but it also allows that nice warm color here to come through there. See, just like that. Now, I'll be able to do this for several hours, so you can do this for a few hours afterwards as well. Just a bit of damp. Sometimes I'll put a little mister bottle over the edge and use that, but I like that bit of just movement, some color there, and that just makes a nice pretty little bit of let's pull a bit of the light yellow right through there. And it just opens up your lilacs here and gives them some more color, some more movement here. It's a beautiful thing. So, you know, anytime that you're working, the extender is such a nice thing. And the extender is completely safe, okay? It is, like, I get it all over hands. You can drink this. As a matter of fact, the one that we use here, it's a glycol-based product. And the one that we use here is actually it's a food additive. It's kosher, okay? So it is safe. You can drink that. You know, as a matter of fact, I had one of my students many years ago, before really I was starting to paint, and she had called me in, and she was a nurse, and she said, my son just drank my 8-ounce bottle of extender. And I said, wow, that's because it's bitter, because I've tasted it many times. I said, that's amazing. She goes, well, I called poison control, and they said they never heard of it. And I said, that's because it's not poisonous. I said, but I wouldn't go on any long trips. He's going to be slippery on the inside for a while. So it's non-toxic or anything like this. And it's in toothpastes and eye drops, nasal sprays, and all of this kind of stuff. It's in a lot of products and stuff, but and it's non-toxic. So that's why you see I don't worry about getting my hands and stuff like that into that. But it's nice because you can create some of these really blurry effects, and we can that I like to do, and then we can come back and let's get rid of that little burnt sienna bit there. But use this, and you can tap some of this around with your paper towel. Look at the beautiful coloring that you get through here. Give yourself a little bit more of a fractured edge here, through that just by using your paper towel and changing that. See, and you get some nice looks, some different looks. So we'll go lilacs and then out, and we'll put some stems in here because he has to be standing on something. So that was the little filbert brush there. So we just kind of set this up. They're not done. We've set it up so we have something nice to look at. I am probably going to want to go gray, a little bit of gray through here. So I'm going to take some of these. I'm going to use my 10 here for a second. Matter of fact, the better one would be, let's put that in the water and let's grab my 3/4 again. And let's go with the blue, and let's gray it with just a touch of our naphtha red light. See, that makes a beautiful light bluish gray here, which is not quite as cold because the naphtha red light's very warm. Now I'm going to add some extender to this. I'm going to want this color mixed pretty well because I want to use it. I don't want it to streak too much. I want it to just push back some of the warmth of the right around where I like that bird. And I'll go right through just a touch or two of my lilacs here too, but really get a nice dose right in there. You know how I like to push that in there, and that see how that really makes him stand out. And he's going to stand out even more as we start his colors, because his colors are amazing here. Here we go, and we'll just streak that through, but don't get rid of all. You might streak a little bit of this through, something like this, if you like that. If you like that contemporary streaking kind of look there like that, you can do a little bit of it to thin this out. Make sure you have just a little bit light pressure. This is what the fusions brushes are designed to do. Light pressure, just kind of push through, and you get that nice. And I don't want to really add too much more of that because I'm getting a lot of that movement to it, but you can see you get this nice little edging there. If you get too much on your bird, you can just tap it right back out. Okay, let's go. And so now we've got a nice kind of a soft look here, like that. And we'll go in. I'm going to go in and with my number 4, which I left some paint in from my little chickadee, so there's a nice yellow color. I'll take that out here, and that's what I love, that using hand sanitizers. That's great. They has that alcohol in it. Those of you who haven't seen that, I've showed that in several videos. I use if I forget color in my brush, I use a hand sanitizer. The hand sanitizers are up around 60% alcohol and stuff, which is isopropyl alcohol is the pure solvent for this paint. I mean, it breaks the binder even after it's set up. So, it's a really good thing, and so you can use that to clean it off your hands and be fine. Then just give your brush a quick rinse. Now my 4 is back in shape again. So if you ever leave, that's the nice thing about it. If you ever leave paint in your brushes, don't worry about it. You can take that right back out, and it's all set. It's all set. So let's go in. Let's paint this. Okay, so I was kind of thinking him this morning before I turned on the cameras. How am I going to, what's the color progressions I'm going to do? And I think I'm going to do Premier Coup, which means we're going to start with our darker colors, our darker tones. And I want a dark violet here, a blue violet. So a little bit of my quinacridone right into my phthalo, which will make a nice, rich, deep blue violet here. And let's start those, and you'll see this is why I don't worry about the contrast on him, because his contrast is going to be amazing. So when we're painting a Premier Coup technique, we're going to start with the darker tones, right, working half tones up. So it's a little different than we did on some of the other birds, working for undertones. So I'm going to go real dark right along here, right around. I'm going to fudge him and leave a bit more of an eye ring here than what the Bunting really has. And then I'm not going to go all the way to the edge here. And I'm going to use short shape following strokes. So these will come in this way. The head here, his neck will pull down. And then I'll lift the pressure off and leave just it. And so his stroking, his calligraphy is going to go like that, in and around like that. Okay? Let's check the wing on one of these. So you can have a few marks of this tone back up over there. So that'll help carry that back up over there. A mark or two of this tone can come down up underneath here. So I start to look at where I can carry some of that tone to get a nice look to them here. Now we've got to go up. We're going to go up more to a blue violet, a little bit lighter. So we're going to take that color, add a bit of white. Let's add a bit more of our nice red violet to this. Here, half tone up, slightly lighter. So as before, when we're working right down in here, is your phthalo's a 2, working in here. Now I'm going to go up no lighter than like a 4. So when you're going to go half tones up, you jump no more than 2 values at a time. This allows you to push this value on and push with your finger a little bit to create any intermediate values that you want to create in between there. So in looking at him, we'll push some of this right around here, right around the back side of his eye. Right up in here, we'll push a bit of that. Now we're going to go lighter and grayer as well. And I just push off the edges like this. And that's easy to do if you add a little extender to your brush as well. I'll push off the edges. You get a different look depending on all the different techniques that you use. You know, a lot of artists will just, grab their paints and start to paint. I don't do that. I'm a left-brain chemist, and what I have to follow formulas and ways to do things. And so I follow techniques from alla prima to Premier Coup to, Flemish building techniques and stuff. And so the 7-layer technique, and there's just all different kinds of things that I'll follow. That's what I do. And so I'm going to put a bit more, I'm going to carry some of these colors. So I'm going to overextend him, put a bit of that violet in there too. That'll just, the camera will pick it up just a bit here. Now, let's go lighter. Let's go, as he gets lighter, he goes more towards the blue-green side here. So let's go over. We need to go up 2, so if we're here, we're going to go up right around a value 6 this time. So we're going to check that. I'm a little bit dark. So let's go up to no lighter, though, than a 6. So we did a 2 and then a 4. Now no lighter than a 6. We'll start this lighter bit right in here. Pull some of that right up there by his head on that side. And his coloring and stuff that he has there will come up, and you can see this is more of that. You can see that is the tone that's right there on him. That's that tone. That's the phthalo blue, maybe a tiny bit of it. But right as it gets up here, see, that is not the same. It's more of a blue violet. So we can use this tone in here, but as we get to the top of his head, we've got to change tones again, and we've got to add a little bit of violet. But that can stay, maybe a bit of the violet over here. Let's put that. So as I get more to this blue violet, see, that'll be the tone that's up there. Now do you see that right there? But it's not the blue-green. It's more of a violet. So that's a good tone. Right up here, value 6 still, though, but you should change the tone from a blue-green to a blue-violet. So we'll put his top knot on there. Here, just like that. He wants to be a blue jay. He's got that up there. Like that. We'll just drag through it so it feathers off, and we'll put some of that violet right down here onto his body. Right down there like that. That'll be nice. Here, let's put just a touch of that violet back here, and then we're going to go to a blue-green again. And I'll just blur that back edge. See, that's what I like to do, is blur that back edge there. And let's grab some blue-green and some of this blue-violet together here and just whisper some of that through. Right where they're going to be changing the tones. Just whisper some of that through. Let's go with a lighter blue-green. I'm going to come down to a cleaner area here. We'll get a nice brighter blue-green. Up around a 6 to a 7 this time. We want to go up a bit. And we want to put some of this tone pulling down here. And I'm going to model that with a little dark here too. And just follow his body feathers here. Just like that. Push that around. You know me, I like to model, so I'll grab some other color here and just kind of push it. You can, if it dries real fast on you, add a bit of extender. That'll keep it nice and wet. And let's just push a bit of the other phthalo plus a bit of red violet in there. Let's leave it kind of modeled, kind of brush modeled here. Don't smooth it too much. Just push that around to incorporate. What I call incorporate the color means that the colors are overriding each other, but they're not mixed. So I'll push to override, but I won't mix. I don't mix. And you mix, you lose a lot of the interest that your bird can have. So see, the modeling just adds a lot of nice movement. And that's what I'm looking for, the movement. So a little phthalo. Let's put that dark. He's got this shoulder dark coming right down there on this one. So let's go a little darker. To make him look lighter, you got to make sure you get these nice darks in there. So there is some nice darks. And sometimes to do that, I may paint out of the photo. In other words, I may paint something, expand colors that you don't really see in your reference photo, just for the artistic version of it here. I'm going to take just a bit of that, break up some of that right in there. That's what I like, right in there. You start getting this modeling of the tones here. Let's go back towards our lighter blue here, phthalo blue and white, and pull in, lifting up. Now, this is where we're going to start in some of the detail. Now, you can do it more painterly, like we did the chickadee, or you can do it more with your number 4, like the 4 round, like we did on the earlier birds, the wren and the eastern bluebird. You can do those. Let's put a bit more light right down the back here. Boom, just right down like that. That's a good bit of that stroke of that light. See, I like to have some of that modeling through there. That's a nice light. It is actually a bit more violet, so let's just stay with that. Let's grab some real light little violet here. And what I mean is you'll see that little edge right there. It's just a bit more violet that's right there. So let's just grab that and hit that little light source right there. Just that little light edge there. It's kind of nice. And yeah, I'm just going to lighten up. You're going to have to do these strokes a few times. Now, so I'll sometimes put that on and then paint back down with the slightly darker value, 1 or 2 values darker, paint back and forth until I get that calligraphy like that. I like that calligraphy to go back and forth here. And of course, you use a smaller brush, you get more feathering details. You use a larger brush, you're making him more painterly like we did before. So, your brush controls the actual feathering on him, how much you want to do. I'm going to keep him painterly here for just a bit, and then I might switch over and add a bit more. Let's model just a bit of orange. So I like this painterly look. Boom, 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 like that. There. And if you want to do some more detailing and stuff on him, we can do that with the number 4 a little bit later. Let's just pull some of this down here. Boom. Leave a bit of that. I don't try to copy the photo, I just try to emulate or catch some of the areas there. Now, I like the blue. Let's go back towards a blue-violet here. And a little bit more blue. Blue, blue-violet, lighter blue-violet here. Right on this part of the wing, pulling down. So we go from that, so you get a nice contrast with that blue-green to that blue-violet there. So you get a nice blue-violet there. And then we'll go into some of the toned tan colors here. And we can get those by any burnt sienna and yellow. And then to get a nice harmony here, we'll add some of our blues over and get some of these nice kind of tan colors that you see right in through here. So the yellow oxide, burnt sienna, and then a bit of the blue traveling through. And I like that right down onto that wing. So I'm going to be kind of looking at that one as I put on his primaries here. Boom, like this. And push that in, up and down like that. Push those colors together, let those blues kind of take over. Even though it stops right out here at his coverts, at his, we can just kind of move those together. I'm going to use a little burnt sienna, a nice burnt sienna color, right out here for like the edge of that wing, right there. Pull that through. There. Start building some. See, that's just a real nice color. Now we'll use a little burnt sienna. Let me get rid of a little bit of this gray here so I can stay in camera and show you some nice colors. We'll take some burnt sienna here and let's darken it with just a touch of the blue. It takes just a touch. You get more of this brown color, and that's the color we want to look for to do some of this other detailing here on the back side. Some of these darker feathers here onto the back side, and I'll just put on some color and push a little bit. We could, put in those primaries and secondaries, his flight feathers there with a negative painting because it has little yellow tips, but let's just put the color in for right now, and then we'll go back and revisit that. Maybe just a bit of streaking. So it all depends, are you gonna add all kinds of details to the feathers and flight feathers and stuff. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I paint the birds all different kinds of ways. Let's take some soft yellow and brown and push that right down into his tail here. Push that right out there. We'll drop that in, and let's rinse that real quick for a second. Grab some of our blue-green here. Start right up here like this and pull that right there and let that fade into that tail right there. Let's put another little dose right back up, maybe just a touch of light. Boom. And I'm pushing down pretty hard so that I dig the paint just a bit up so you get some of these different, see, this is what I like, the highs and lows of those colors there, and it just makes a real nice look, see? And but that's up to you. I'm gonna go a bit darker blue, maybe a touch of violet into that, and let's work that tone right up underneath the wing just a bit. Push up and down there. We're going to have to reset some of those body feathers again, but I like to do the body feathers several times here. Some really nice here. This is what's called his mantle. These are his coverts right here, and so some streaking of some browns and stuff there. How much you bring out, that's kind of up to you. Sometimes I bring out, if I'm going to do a very expensive detailed bird, I'll bring it out quite a bit. Sometimes I'll just suggest it, just some real quick stroking. And how much I use my brush on my chisel like this to do that depends on how much of an edge I want. Sometimes I want it just real soft and maybe paint over some of that with some blue, just a bit of blue to soften it, just lightly like this and then you don't spend a whole bunch of time. You've just indicated that area, but you don't have to spend a whole bunch of time there. All different ways, I time, a lot of my paintings. I time so that, because for me, painting, how long it takes to paint something, that's the price for me. I'm going to do some lighter pull downs here. Pull down, pull down, pull down. Down like that to get a bit of that movement in there. I like that color, so I'm going to give just a bit more of that right in there. Right in the tail to those feathers right there. Let's build a bit lighter yet and pull some of that down through here. Some of that, I use different chisels, so I'm painting a lot of this with the 4 flat. You could use the 2. It all depends on how much you can do and what kind of calligraphy you want to give the bird. So you can see that 4 makes it a little soft, but you do get some nice calligraphy to his body here, see? And I like that. Let's keep that nice light here. Right up here, a bit more of that coming in. And normally I've painted the eye by now, but I haven't done it on him. Let's look at this one again and get those violets back down here. Get some of this nice violet right in there. Track that through. Just see, I'll short stroke, just tapping in like that to get some of the modeling of some of those colors, which gives him a lot more interest, see? Tons of different techniques. So I'll just tap some of that through, build that, and maybe a heavier stroke that builds that ridge of the eye right there. So that gives it that look of that ridge right in there. So we get some nice pretty little coloring. That's what I'm looking for. Maybe some of this, since his wings pull down this way, some of that just pulling down right over, and we can, really kind of put these coverts in. A little more blue. Some of this blue in here. They change color throughout these things from the blues coming over to the tans. From the tans into the blues as they get, more mature and stuff. So, you kind of in control about what they look like here by their age and stuff. So just going to push some of that in there like that. Just a nice little look there. But you're in control of that. You don't, so it, and here, like I say, if I'm doing a really detailed bird, I might repeat this area several times, and it's all time. Now I'm going to put a bit of that. I do like the yellow showing up like it's on that other one. So I do like that little bit of yellow that's showing up in there. I think it's a nice, warm, cool. I don't want to do too much. We'll just push a few strokes of that through here. And then I'll do some negative painting. I'll take my burnt sienna, a little bit of my blue here so I get a nice darker brown. And I'm just going to pull down, leaving the little light tips there to these feathers, so you just get that little look, of that mottled look in there. I'm not going to go perfect with it. Maybe a bit of the lighter blue pulling down through there, because you're changing colors, and so you can get some of those just nice colors going on through there without being too precise. The other thing is on sometimes, the up around the breast area there, as they're changing, they get a little bit more light, and I do like that, just a touch more light. So if I decide to do that, I'll take him away from what my my main sample is here, and I'm going to increase the light just a bit more here. And you know me, I like to do that little whisper of those feathers right over the edge of his wing there, like that. And maybe pull through that light just a touch more here. It's all, it's all, you control the bird here. Little touches. See, I'm using just a chisel. But you could use that little number 4. You could use whatever you want. And there's your bird. I'm going to restate that light violet right on his edge over here. Real light violet right in here. So you have that light blue-green and that light violet. And the camera can pick up a little bit of that difference, but that here with the original, it's kind of nice to see that difference. Maybe just a touch of this right out onto the edge. A few little hits right in there is kind of nice. Let's pull down some of this blue again right in there. There. And soft. There we go. I like that pushing of that, those colors. That's the calligraphy I like to give them. Some of those colors and stuff. And like I say, sometimes I'll repeat this many times to get the kind of calligraphy that I want to have into the bird. And let's just, so I'll repeat down through my darks and my lights. And until I get some calligraphy that I really like. Now, this time, I kind of waited till the end to do the eye, didn't I? A lot of times I do, most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, I do the eye and stuff right away, because that sets the condition of the bird itself, for how much contrast and stuff that I want to have. But in this case here, his eye is really kind of soft. I'm going to put in more of a light eye ring. And first I'm going to go back, I'm going to use my 4 round, and right into the back of the eye, I'm going to leave a bit of that eye ring. I'm going to tap a bit of that burnt sienna, which I like to use, that nice warm. And then we'll come in with some nice blue, maybe blue and a little bit of the red violet, nice dark. If it gets too bright for you or anything, you'd add a touch of green here. So we'll grab just a bit of that. That's nice. Here, let's take that color and let's put a gray. Blues and the burnt siennas and stuff. Let's put a bit of that nice bluish gray right on the top part of his beak. I'm going to add a bit of burnt sienna, more burnt sienna, maybe a touch, of the yellows. And you see, depending on the light, so you look at this one here, he's very light and very gray and stuff. You look at this one, depending on the light, he's got a lot of yellows and stuff into him as well. So it all depends on, the light. You're controlling that. And if you're not sure, you just put all the colors in there. Without creating a rainbow, you just want to get some of the colors in there. I do like a bit of that yellow in there. To me, it's like a bird should have a yellow beak. That's just, They did in 3rd grade with all my coloring books. They always had yellow beaks, so they can have yellow beaks now. So we can do whatever we want with them, as long as we still make them look like a indigo bunting here. Let's put the lower light right at the bottom. Pull that out, just like that is on him. There. Let's tap a bit more. I'll just bench wipe my brush, take some of that extra color out. We'll pick up a bit more white. Tap that in. Let's tap in right up next to that there, and we'll put that nice light, a little bit lighter, right up where the 2 parts of the beak come together there. And a bit more of a light gray that comes. Now this is important because his face is foreshortened again, so we're going to bring the point of the beak in just a bit here, like that. Down like there. And then we'll push that shadow in right up next to that, right there. And a bit more of that shadow gray on the other side up over here, so it shadows back down there like that, okay? And so that puts the longer part of his beak right up into the center line of his head, right up there. Boom. That's where it's got to go. There, like that. And a bit of that nice gray kind of pulling down. That's kind of good there. Okay, and so I want just a bit of that blue, that darker blue. Let's even go with a little phthalo here. Coming down that side here, pulling down that way. That helps turn, foreshorten his head just a bit there. Okay. Now, on this one, you can barely see a little bit of an eye ring there, that darker yellowy kind of eye ring. So let's go with a darker yellow-gray. We'll tap that in right around those colors there. Okay. And we'll back paint up that, putting that shadow in and stuff that's right underneath that with a little phthalo. Paint out some of it, tap right along, paint out some of it. There. That's kind of neat. Maybe that's a little big up on the top up there, so we can put that phthalo shadow up there. Don't cut across his eye, you'll make him angry. So we'll touch just a bit of that, painting out the eye ring just a touch. Let's go with a softer gray here. So not a pure white, just a softer gray here. And we'll touch right into the front with that, sneak up on it. It's nice if you do put the catch light on, boom, just like that. That's a nice catch light on him. It's a little round, so I just push it off with a bit of dark. Just push up into it till I get it to about the size that I want there. And it makes him more realistic that way as well. I'm going to do a couple, while I have this down, I'm going to do a couple lighter blue down strokes here. Down like this. I do like the feathering that this little brush does give here. So we'll do a few little feathering strokes. Let's do just a few of those. See, that just gives a nice little feathering look there. And we can tap, most of his feathers are dark here, but you can tap a little bit of that light, you know, like we did with some of the other ones. Just little touches of hits of the light here. Just little bits of it around. It just adds a bit to him. And let's get some violet here. Some violet colors. Just a touch lighter, but more of a violet. And we'll paint back through some of those. Soften some of those feathers out. And like we did with the other ones, you can go back and forth. I'm going to go just a bit darker here. Push that right in there. I love to leave that calligraphy in. Sometimes I really like that exchange of light and dark on those feathers. That really, you know, push up and leave a little feathery edge there onto his top knot there. You know, but I like that exchange. I really like to kind of curve feathers down through here, and sometimes even make them lighter than what you would see on the photo, so you get a nice flow to the feathers there of his neck. See how it just kind of flows down and kind of bring him right into his mantle there of his body, and put a few little feather marks in there like that. And you get he makes a nice bird here. Makes it look like you know what you're doing. Let's put a few feathery strokes here. Pull that down. See, I just love that for putting on. But it's not as painterly as some of the others that I do. But let's just pull a few little lights across the edge of that wing. You know, and you know, here's the difference. You know, you look at here the difference between the edges of the primaries here, how light they are there and how yellow they are there. And, you know, I just might come right between the two here. You know, just with a lighter kind of yellow, and just to put an idea of the primaries, some separation of the primaries here a bit more. Just an idea. Don't like, just blur that just a bit. Just, just an indication of them. Just very light with the brush. Maybe a heavier light one right back here. That carries that color around. You could tap that color around a bit so it carries through. Just blur that off just a bit. See, that makes a nice coloring form. And it takes the colors of our beak right down into his body here as well, which is kind of nice, okay? All right, so we should probably give him some burnt sienna. His feet are really dark, mostly burnt sienna. And let's drop these in right down here, maybe a touch of blue in there. So they get a bit darker here. We'll drop in the idea of his feet, even though we're going to cover them up mostly by lilacs. And if you notice, like with the lilacs, you have green out to the outside edges. You don't have any of it right in between them and stuff. So, we can put green to the outside edges of this, but we got to think of most of these as like giant clumps of stuff. So, and let's just take a bit of light blue to set in his thigh kind of area there with some light blue. Pull down just a bit. That brings out a touch of his leg there. If you can see that. That looks pretty good. I could have a touch of that light onto his tail. And see, again, I like to blur that off a bit, so it's not very much. It's just more than structure, I paint color. So I don't worry about the structure as much as I do the color. And let's go light, a little more violet, just in here, a bit more. Bring that up, touch more. Boom, just a few extra little feathers. Few little touch marks, feather marks, and try not to be rhythmic. What I mean by that is try not to set up a pattern. That's very easy for me to do. I do that because I'm very much left brain, and so I'll set up a pattern really easy. So something I watch out for. Let's put just a touch of that blue right underneath the eye there, just as a little shine area. Little things like that just give an extra little sparkle, an extra little bit of life to them there. And so sometimes I'll put them there even though I don't see them in a painting. Okay, so, all right. Let's go back. Let's go with our 8 or a 10 here. And let's just take a soft green. Let's go right down in all of this. I'm going to put some extender, some burnt sienna right in all of this, and make some softer greens out through here that will push in and just push around like that. And it just adds another color, plus the lilacs and stuff do have them. So, and we'll thin this out, a little bit of the light background color. See, it's a little bit of it's still here, and it's still wet. It's still wet because I added that extender to it here, and it's been an hour. So it's still wet there. So you got working time when you start adding that stuff. You have working time, but we'll push that around just a bit. A few of those little greens and stuff out there. Soft little colors, walk up around a bit. Move your brush in all different kinds of ways, but it's very soft. You're thinking very, very soft, see? Okay? And let's push maybe a nice little green right in there that, he's coming up against there, right like that. A soft little green, soft. Soft to the outside. We can get a bit more contrast, a bit more green. If we come in here, touch a bit of that right in here. Green, pine green, some burnt sienna, a little bit of your blue maybe. Push some of that a little heavier right in there. And that'll give you a better depth when you see that darker color there just kind of fading away here. Here, but we just want to give some movement. I paint for movement more than anything else. That's what I'm doing on him here, is painting for movement. Let's put some soft little greens. That's kind of nice. Let's take a little burnt sienna. And they do have really heavy kind of stalks to them. So we'll want some of this to just come through like that. Let's just add some ideas here of some stalks to these lilacs here. Some ideas of movement through. There we go. That'll do that. Now we get to come back in, and we can go back to our round, our filbert brush. Let's see if I can find it here. I dumped it into the water there. And we can start bringing back up. Let's take a bit of water here and just take off this green so I don't tone that color too much. And let's go back to our lights. And a bit of our violets here. And some more white, heavy white. Bit of the violet color. You can even warm this up quite a bit with some reds and stuff, because you'll see a warmer, it'll start to head even a little bit more red, and that's your naphthol red light. You can add a touch of that to really warm something up here, and it does. It warms it quite quickly here. To add a few warmer strokes here to some of these. Boom. Here. And they're really more, I've got these kind of round, they're really more oval shaped petals. Let me go a bit cooler. I love to just change the tone a little bit. See how the tone changes, warm to cool here. And I love to play the tones here. Here like that. Boom. Blur that through, just some nice little colors. Change it a bit more violet there. And how much you build out. We don't want to build too much, but we want to build these up a bit more, and then start tapping around some of that tone to just push some lights in. And don't forget to shove it over to the blue side every once in a while here, so you get a variation of some of those colors. Here, just like that. It's kind of pretty. Let's get a bit more, slightly darker here. Go right over some of the greens. That'll incorporate them. Some of those just right, I just kind of like to blur the edge there. You don't always know what is there, which is on top. I sometimes like to do that. Just softly push them in. This is really where I want to concentrate it, and then I'm going to want to add just a few over here that I want softer, blurred out more than anything else. So I'm just going to run my finger over them, kind of start to set up the shape, and then run my finger over them to soften them out. If you want to be more precise and accurate, you can paint, more of the, four or five petals, or 4 petals is usually what they have, that put them in more distinct. But I'm going to keep them relatively soft, maybe only a few in the center here, bit more precise and more of the perfect oval shape, that kind of stuff to them. And then more than anything else, guys, what I do is I paint for the lost edge. So I'm painting to support that blurry lost edge that I did here, at the very beginning. That's what I'm kind of painting for, so I get that softness going through there. I want this trailing down, and I might have just an idea of a shape or two here, just like that, and that's enough as it's fading away, see? You don't want to make perfect ones down here because then you're bringing the interest there, but you can push in some touches of the light, some light hitting there. So we'll push that in. We'll push this in here. Maybe some of them turned at an angle if you want to get more, more stuff going on. And you could see, some when you start looking at the clumps, you get little light hits every once in a while. And so, that's more what you add when you're going out through here like this, just little light hits as you're moving away from them. Maybe a few little light hits and maybe a couple of touches of darker color, as well, and grabbing a few of those. I paint for tone, I paint for interest, and I watch my effect as I'm going through here. Maybe I want to put in a bit more of a violet. See that little violet right in there? That's kind of nice. A nice deep violet that keeps the colors flowing through. So it doesn't all get real toned. There's areas of higher contrast and darker colors and more colors coming through. And that is, now how much I can add is now controlled by our bird. So I can't go darker than that, but boy, you'd have to try pretty hard to get that dark. But, some of this red violet through here would be pretty, just touching through, moving those colors through. And the more I add up in here, the more I can brush around, add a few little bits of it out through here like this to carry that color down. Maybe a bit of blue. Push that around, and even if it's a little heavy there, don't worry about it. Just start blurring it with your finger. And if that doesn't work, you take a little bit of water right with your paper towel and take some of that off. But we want just a bit. I always add just a touch of extender, so it gives me a bit of time to kind of blur around a bit here. There, that makes some nice. Let's pull the viewer's eye down this way, just a bit towards these shadows. And so you can leave down into the shadow ones, like right down over here. You can leave them more on the dark side, not get the lighter, lost little ghost. You can draw down here, more shadow, and just leave that going that way. Maybe a bit of the light softness right through there, but just kind of model, blur it on in here like this, blur it all together, and you get that softness. And only up in here do we really want those edges. Does that make sense? Only up in here do we want those edges and stuff like that come on these. And you can paint them more, just paint out a couple of them a little more precise, like a little more color into the center, here. The rest of it will just let it go. Okay. And then we'll add a touch or two of our yellow oxide here. You could use the tip of your round or corner of your little flat. If you use the tip of the round, I'm using the tip of the round just because it was real quick and convenient right here. Just don't make them all the same size. Just kind of blur these around a bit. Just kind of add some of that. But try not to make them repetitive, the same size or perfectly round. That's the other thing that'll kill them. Then we'll add a little Jansen. Boy, we haven't used any of that. We'll just add a little brighter yellow here. There we go. Just a touch or two of that. And right up into these main ones here. Sometimes I'll just tap it with my finger just to take that off. Boy, I pretty much covered up his feet again. Just going to draw those back. But you never know, so you got to put them in. So you just never know. And I like that. And maybe a bit more of the... You can go negative painting with some of your greens and stuff like this. If you want to push in some more dark, which is your contrast, right? So you can come back in and negative paint up, draw some of that color in there, and that just gives a bit more contrast. That's up to you, you know. Every one of us will be a little different as far as our likes and dislikes, and that's gonna, you know, be determined by, you know, what your final effect is. Myself, I like stuff really soft, but my collectors and people who buy my paintings and stuff, they generally like a little more contrast than what I like to paint in. So I never really paint with I never really paint what I like. I paint a lot of stuff. I paint what's in my mind all the time is selling, because that's my job. And I love it. And, you know, I get the most satisfaction when I sell a painting. I just love it. It's hard to let them go. It's really, really hard to let them go. But I love it when someone says, I just love that. And they'll send me pictures afterwards of it hanging in their living room or dining room or something, you know, and I just like, wow, you know, that to me, that's the pure joy of it and why I really like doing this, all of this. Because, you know, that's the joy of it. But, you know, so now it's just contrast and how much you want to add to your painting. I think I got enough around there, maybe just a bit more burnt sienna here, and then I'm just gonna, you know, maybe a bit more of this right in there. See, just nice little contrast, pulls you right up there by the bird. Here, a little bit of negative painting there, right up there by the bird. Just a bit more. And I like it. I like it to fade away out. So we'll push in just a bit. And yeah, that just gives a nice, and you know, go back through and try. I mean, you know, if you're a casual painter like me, you've got to leave some of this, but it's kind of nice to come back and find a few flowers. And if you used a lot of red violet before, put a little blue in this time, so the petal color changes just a bit, and just restate just a couple of them. And right up here around the center, that's really going to give you your nice, make sure you get some nice found edges here on those petal edges like that. And that gives you a nice little variation to your colors and stuff. So, and to your looks, let's put just a bit of that fading away out here, a little bit right out there. So these edges are just kind of fading away. And then I'm going to call this one. I think that's enough. It's a pretty painting. It works. Boom, boom, boom. Maybe okay, I know I said I was going to stop, but maybe just a little bit here. Just like that, coming down. A few little sparks. Those Eugene Pettit sparks. There we go. Like that. Okay? That's pretty nice. Now, the last thing is, you know, do you want to go back? Oh, do you want to go back to that kind of gray, that nice grayish kind of color up there? I don't mix the same color. I want it a bit different here. And I do like it, you know, it's a little bit even all the way across there. I do like it if there's just a bit more light right by his head, pulling in, right in there like that. So I'll negative paint up like that. Let's add a bit of extender here, and we'll just whisper that through here. Pull that through right in there like that. See, that looks pretty nice, and I'll pull it. It's actually better to use because I want to keep it kind of soft. I don't want to get too much brush movement there with that. So we'll just use our bigger brush, pull through right over some of those, because that'll soften out. It actually gets softer as it dries. Some of the other colors will come back up and through. But see, that adds quite a bit to him. Really pops his face out here. We'll negative paint right up next to his beak here and to his head, and it just really pops him out. See, makes it look like you know what you're doing. Here, My dogs are barking at something. So that just pops him right up there like that. There we go. And that's good. See, that puts a nice little bit of that light there. Sometimes I will drop that light down. It all depends on how much you want to move, but a little bit of that light coming right down here wouldn't be bad. Right in there like that. That just makes a nice little variation of it. If you hit his head up here too much, just back it out, or just restate some of those nice feathers up there at the top up here to kind of clean him up, and then call it. You know, you might want to just clean up just a bit of those areas there, and which is enough. I just look at how much he pops up off the background. That's what I'm looking for more than anything else. Okay, alrighty. So there you got. There's a nice little blue bunting. Like I said, some of these edges and stuff, if you want to clean them up, make them more, you know, precise with like the four and stuff, that's up to you. I kind of like him like this, and the lost and the found edges and stuff. And then we'll go from there. And then let me know about those hummingbirds, which ones you want to do. I can't really kind of decide which others I want to do. And we'll do all of those other birds, the tufted titmouse and all of those, and that tree swallow. He's going to be a lot of fun, okay? Make sure you subscribe and click like. I really would appreciate it. And just subscribe so you know when new videos are coming, all right? And I'll see you guys on the next one, all right? Okay, see you later.